And I tell them the same thing. If you work hard and you're a student of what you do and you're honest, no matter what happens, you'll make it. Presence of mind enough that when he called the first time to say, a perfect hedge is a sale. So in April of 1980, we had a video auction at the Madonna Inn in San Luis Obispo. And we had 15,000 cattle in that sale. And one of the prerequisites was that you had to sell them. You couldn't no-sale them. Video technology had just come out, and we went and bought a video camera and recorder. And the recording box weighed 25 pounds. And it had a big old strap on it and some batteries. And we had a camera that the second person had to hold. So I bought all the cattle for Harris, and I bought all the cattle for Dave Wood. And my wife used to say, "How come you don't want to talk when you get home?" And I'd tell her,
my wife says that to me sometimes too.
104 calls on my phone today, and so all my visiting was pretty much used up by the time I got home.
I need to make sure my wife listens to this.
I'm just kind of want to sit there and chill.
Yeah.
That's a Head On. We live it. The Live Ag Podcast. Quality cattle deserve premium prices. Consigned to a Live Ag video auction and capitalize on today's strong market demand. Our upcoming auctions are on your screen and available online at live-ag.com. Contact your local rep to get started. Now, here are your hosts, Ty de Cordova and Casey Mabry.
Welcome, everybody, to the We Live It podcast. Thank y'all for joining us today. We have a special guest here. Casey Mabry is here with me as co-host, and then we have a special guest, Richard Stober, and he's been a long-time family friend of my family that we've known quite a long time, and we just kind of wanted to get him on here and share his expertise and all the different things he's knowledgeable in. And Casey and myself are going to sit here and drill you with questions. You're sitting underneath the spotlight, Richard, like we're going to interrogate you. So,
well, I'll tell it like I remember it. How's that?
There you go.
Not necessarily 100% accurate.
Probably need to leave some of it out.
Well, that's another life. We're not going to talk about that.
Okay. So, because I remember some of it with me, and I wish you wouldn't talk about some of that. So, but no, thanks again for joining us. It's good to see you. It's good to catch up. Kind of give us a background, where you lived, where you come from, where you grew up. Talk about your awesome wife. Don't forget that. I'm just going to try to help you there so you don't forget that part. So, but no, let's kind of go into some of your history and some of your back history, and then we'll kind of go into some of the things you've learned and goods and bads and all that.
Okay. First of all, Ty, your family, you and your dad particularly have been what I consider good friends of mine in business, and to a certain extent on a personal level too, because I've known you for so long. I met Casey a couple years ago, and sounds like a cliche, but pretty impressive. And I know a little bit about where he came from, and even less about what he does.
I think everybody struggles there.
Yeah, me too.
He offered us some wisdom at that time, and I still remember those conversations that we had at that point. As far as I'm concerned, my dad was a packer buyer, and he had 5 children, and I went with him ever since diapers. And I would go to the stockyard and travel with him in the summer, and just out of the 5, I was always with him. And so I got a little bit of it just from osmosis and kind of soaks in. And, growing up, always had a lot of questions. And my dad was not good about giving answers. He would create more questions, and I would go with him and, what will they yield? And he'd tell me, well, you write it down what you think they'll yield, and then we'll check. So I spent a lot of time doing that sort of thing. In high school, at that time, they were harvesting baby Holstein calves, bull calves particularly. And so I had a little route, and I'd go pick up baby calves and turn them into veal, and after school and on weekends. And So I got started on the slaughter side. Also, as I got a little bit older, I worked in a packing house, pushing cattle, sheep, and goats up a kill ramp to the second floor kill floor. And so a lot of experience on that side growing up, and got interested, wanted to be in the cattle business, and turned in a pretty good sized pasture operation. We would, myself and some partners would run 12 to 15,000 stocker cattle a year. Did that for a number of years. Have fed cattle ever since I can remember. As soon as I could finance them, I started feeding cattle. And limited success from time to time, and have things turn on me. And I've managed to survive my career. And it's a business that I've been in all my life and that I really love. The people. I'm not very active now. I still have cattle on feed, but I'm not covering the country or doing any of the things that I've done for most of my life. So it's quite an accomplishment for me to be able to stay in business this long if I want to. So that's kind of where I'm at there. I still like to be a student of the market and learn as much as I can from any place that's somewhat creditable. And so I do that pretty much on a daily basis. I watch the markets, I watch the auctions. I don't go set in them anymore. I scratch around trying to figure out a break even on something that's $200 head higher than what I feel comfortable with. So, but I still think of myself as a student, and it's a good part of my focus mentally. I got involved in video marketing early on. In 1979, myself and a partner had about 2,100 heifers turned out, and it didn't look very good. And we were trying to think of a way that we could optimize our position. And there had been some contract auctions, I think 2 of them that I recall. One was from a company up in Oregon that was just bought some cattle and on a trade deal and was trying to figure a way to get out from under them, and that didn't work. And then another one, Ellington Peak had a contract auction where they actually advertised it, put the buyers on a bus, hauled them around the Klamath Basin. Okay, let's sell this set right there on the. So he sold about 10,000 that way, or well, he didn't. He offered 10,000, and he ended up selling about 2,500. So video technology had just come out, and we went and bought a video camera and recorder, and the recording box weighed 25 pounds, and it had a big old strap on it and some batteries. And we had a camera that the second person had to hold, and it had a big old cable on it. And we went around and we filmed 15,000 cattle is what we had in our first sale. And that was in April of 1980. We started filming and putting this all together in 79. So in April of 1980, we had a video auction at the Madonna Inn in San Luis Obispo. And we had 15,000 cattle in that sale. And one of the prerequisites was that you had to sell them. You couldn't no-sale them. And the other prerequisite was that they had to be in first hands. There were no trader cattle. And the futures limit at that time was $1.00 And so 7 days before our sale, it had gone down to $1.00 which was the limit. And you had to sell them. And it was pretty well attended and pretty well irrigated after the sale. Everybody stood around there and started drinking. And we had wrecked the market with these 15,000 cattle. And Yeah. So anyway, we offered our 2,100 heifers. You could take 700, or you could take 1,400, or you could take 2,100. And this well-known trader is at the bar while the sale's going on, and he's had a few drinks, and he starts bidding on the cattle. And I'm standing next to the auctioneer, and I said, "Don't sell them to him. Don't sell them to him. He's been drinking." Well, stops and gives a speech. After a while, he's got to sell the cattle, and he's the last bidder. At the same time, Jack Harris was sitting in the crowd, and he seen who it was, and Jack just sat back and didn't bid anymore. And so Jack was a big feedlot operator in California at that time, and kind of a hip shooter from time to time. Anyway, so we sell him to him, and he stumbles through the crowd and paws his way to the front. How many do you want? Well, how many are there? Well, you can take 7, 14, or 2,100. And the guy says, "What are they?" So, "What do you mean, what are they? Are they steers?" "No, they're heifers." And the guy, "I'll take them all." So anyway, our requirement was that, you give us $50 a head down in the morning, which never happened. And at 4 o'clock the next afternoon, which was a Friday, I called Jack Harris and I said, "We never got our down money, and would you honor your last bid?" And he says, "Sure." So I sold them to him. So anyway, that's the way that went. And so anyway, rolls around the next year, and in the meantime, my partner got killed in an airplane wreck. And we had a lot of debt, and he had 2 little kids and a young wife, and I had a lot of things going on. And so I ended up having to pay for his part of the loss because he's not here and she didn't have it. And that took me a while. So one of my partners in the video auction, Skinner Hardy, who was the auctioneer, said he would go on with it. Well, I didn't want to go on with it because I had all these other things going on.
Profit-focused genetics backed by generations of discipline. That's Worthington Angus in Dadeville, Missouri. Their 7th annual fall sale is Saturday, November 1st at noon at the farm, featuring cattle that consistently earn premiums. Can't be there? No problem. Register to bid remotely with Live Ag. Just scan the QR code or hit the link below. Request a catalog at worthingtonangus.com. Worthington Angus, where discipline meets proven genetics.
So ultimately, they had 2 more, and that evolved into Western Video, which is going now. So anyway, that was how all that started. And I went on to selling 3 sales a week, and I had an angel financer, a fellow by the name of Bob Fulton, and he financed me on 7,500 head of cattle on my own with his money. And that worked out. And after 5 years, I got the partnership's debt paid off, and I was up and running again. And I spent the next 15 years running 12 to 15,000 cattle on grass, and going to auctions. And the year before I met Ty, I had handled 120,000 cattle, and it had been that way for 4 or 5 years, and I had 4 or 5 guys working for me. And so I had a lot of balls in the air, and that was kind of my life. And you said to mention something about my wife, and so we've been together for a long time, 50 years, and she's done everything but castrate 800-pound bulls. She'd done that too, I guess, if I ask her. But so but we're at that stage of life now where we can enjoy some of the things that we've earned, and she's pretty good at that too.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so in I had a career change in 2010, and I was working out of Fort Worth, Texas, and Brush, Colorado, and I got to come home to California, and I just, in fact, I was on my way back to California, and Dave Wood called me, and Dave was the CEO and COO of Harris Farms and Harris Feeding Company. Harris Farms was a 30,000 acre row crop, 30 crops, blueberries, asparagus, limes, oranges, about anything you can grow in California, and 120,000 head feed yard. And Mr. Harris was the sole owner and operator of the whole thing, and Dave was the manager and COO of the whole thing, CEO as well. And we fed 120,000 cattle. We harvested 1,150 a day. They all come out of Harris Feeding Company, and John Harris owned probably 85% of them. I did that for 14 years. I was the head of procurement. I had an 80-year-old helper by the name of Don Flanagan, and between the two of us, we managed to buy 1,250 cattle a day for Harris. And at the same time, Dave Wood had a huge pasture operation and feeding entities, and Dave would feed about 30,000 cattle, and he ran anywhere from 40 to 60,000 calves and stocker cattle on grass in California. He also had a 3,500 head cow operation in partners with John Lacey. So I bought all the cattle for Harris, and I bought all the cattle for Dave Wood. And my wife used to say, "How come you don't want to talk when you get home?" And I'd tell her,
my wife says that to me sometimes too.
104 calls on my phone today, and so all my visiting was pretty much used up by the time I got home.
I need to make sure my wife listens to this.
I just kind of want to sit there and chill.
I kind of see her point of view, but I've just emptied out.
Oh, trust me.
Yeah. And so anyway, we had to have a certain amount of reach to come up with that many cattle in a seasonal territory like California. And I always managed to make it work. And Dave Wood and John Harris were very good to me, and particularly Dave, because he ran the whole show. And up until Mr. Harris's death, continued to do that. So that was an opportunity that I never felt like I needed the job, and I told him that when we talked about it, going to work for him. But it was one of those aspirational things that I kind of always wanted to do, because for a long time they were the biggest user in the West, and the fact that it was so contained, we never bought fat cattle. They all come out of Mr. Harris's yard, and Dave and my feedlot manager had say over the whole thing as to how it operated, and Dave made a huge success out of it. And at the same time, he developed a hugely successful operation of his own, and still has it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of that part of it all.
We was glad you took it. It was very. Me and my dad and my brother was really glad you took it, because he helped us out when we did. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, really good.
Well,
yeah.
We
buy a lot of cattle there for.
Yeah, that's a pretty sizable stick right there, isn't it?
We buy a lot of cattle for a couple of years there for them. It was good.
Yeah. I think.
So 1,150 a day. What is that, like 350?
Well, I was going to say, and I always preface this. It sounds like BS, but it's not. I had one 80-year-old man that went to 3 sales a week for 4 hours at each one. He didn't stay till the end, and I bought 350 to 380,000 cattle a year, And in the fall of the year, I would go to the border for Dave. Mr. Harris didn't run any pasture cattle, but Dave ran a lot of cattle. And I would go down every week to Nogales or El Paso or Douglas and stay down there 2 or 3 days and turn around and come back. And for the most part, Dave was good about sending me down in his airplane. So I did that October to December. And in the meantime, set alongside the road and bum jump Arizona and buy 6,000 cattle on the video in your car on a cell phone. And it's a head scratcher, So I from a professional standpoint, I've got to meet so many good people and do it with so many good people. And, I've lived every dream I ever had. I started off with a pickup and racks. And so I'm very grateful. And this year, I was inducted into the Cattle Marketing Hall of Fame, which was a total surprise. You get to going along and you get older and you think you're clandestine, and all of a sudden somebody jumps up and hangs that one on you, and you go, well, what did I do? And I like to say that just getting to stick around, because you get to see a lot of people come and go. And I've had, I don't know, a dozen proteges. And I tell them the same thing. If you work hard and you're a student of what you do and you're honest, no matter what happens, you'll make it. And even in my part of or experience in this business is, at the lowest point, there's always somebody stuck their arm out to help you. And so that's happened. And,
well, you was sure enough a mentor of mine and someone I looked up to, and I learned a tremendous amount from.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Doing what we do. And I mean, can't thank you for enough for all the knowledge that you shared with us and continue to share with us. I mean, I know that I could pick up the phone today and call you and say, hey, Richard, I'm in this situation, and value your opinion and trust it, knowing that you're going to give me the best advice you can. And there's very few people that you can trust and do that with. I mean, I can count the ones on one hand that I would do it with. And just from me to you, thanks for that. I mean,
well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. That means a lot to me too. So one of the things, and we talked about this briefly before we sat down, is I have business friends that I've talked to over the years forever. And I mentioned the fact in that earlier conversation that I told my friend who wanted to take some of the risk out of what he was doing he called me and said that they want $135 a head to do an LRP. And I said, boy, that's pretty hard to swallow. And what I suggested to him was that he try some option strategy that would leave the top open and see what that would cost. Well, instead of 135, he gave 80. He still had his upside open. The reason it cost him 80 for that was he wanted to ensure that he wasn't going to be getting margin calls and have to re-up on the options. And I hadn't presence of mind enough that when he called the first time to say, a perfect hedge is a sale. And I think that's where Live Ag has an opportunity to simplify the risk, because they can sell the cattle on your next video for next spring or whenever they're going to want to eliminate those cattle. They can offer them through your venue. You're going to sell them somewhere, I would guess, and this is totally a guess, $5 behind what something in the nearby would would bring. And that may or may not be true. There might be a guy out there that thinks it's going to be a lot better down the road. So that's subjective. The other thing is, and they're going to say, well, I don't know what they're going to weigh. Well, I think most of us know what our cattle have gained on this ranch or that ranch for the last 5 years, and you use an average and a slide. And it's a perfect hedge. And there are no margin calls. You'll get some down money maybe. I think that's the way it works.
Oh, yeah.
And you're set. And you have a bit of weather risk / gain, but you can take care of part of that or all of it with a slide and a decent estimate. So I guess if that same guy called me again, that's what I'd say in place of the option strategy.
Looking to buy or sell farm equipment and ranch equipment? Join us for the Live Ag Equipment Auction December 16th, featuring quality machinery and trusted sellers from across the country, all in one place. Browse listings, bid online, or make an offer without ever leaving your home. Save time, save travel, and find the tools your operation needs with confidence. Have equipment sitting idle? Consign by December 8th to be part of this nationwide sale. Call Justin Stelzer today at 817-533-6699, then press 3, or visit live-ag.com to get started.
There's not a lot of cattle around for spring other than, your wheat grazing areas. Out that way where he's at in California, there's not very many at all. And there's less this year than there's been in a long time. And I know talking to Casey, he's got other ideas that, may be viable. But to me, the perfect hedge is a sale with somebody that's going to take them and be there when you get ready to send them. And it's another option. It's not one size fits all. So
yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, not one size fits all. It's whatever's best for your program. And if you understand the option stuff and the 3-part protocol or the LRPs, or if you just want to keep it basic and say, I want a contract.
Yeah.
I want to sell these cattle out front. Let's put them on the next sale. Let's sell them. If you want to do something else, contact Casey or one of them guys that does that for a living that can walk you through it. I mean, there's one size don't fit all. It's whatever's best for your outfit. But the simplest and most understandable, in my opinion, is a contract.
Yeah, forward
let's get
sale.
them sold.
Yeah.
Let's get them forward sold, and let's,
Yeah, it depends on a guy's size and what their risk tolerance is, and the other thing is, like we talked about just right before this, is the seasonality to it. Like in the spring, as we talk about like wheat pasture cattle, a lot of the time, guy buys wheat, he's kind of starting to gather those cattle now. He's going to kick them out here, in a couple months or so, or a month, depending on different locations on when they're going to go. We like using some, whether it's put options or LRPs. Now, the crazy thing is, Richard, you kind of touched on it, is all these options premiums have gotten much higher than what they were before. I was looking back even a year ago, we thought they were high on feeder cattle, and it was an $8 put option and a $7 LRP, per hundredweight. And then now we're looking at $12, $13 a hundredweight because the values have gotten so high and the exposure and the risk is so high. So then it starts to get people backed off on it. It concerns me. I mean, it concerns me because as the market's gone up, the options premiums have gone up, the risk has gone up. And I think people have backed off on what they want to do because they listen to all of their, whatever it is. And everybody's talking about this, how the cattle have just continued to push higher.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks that we're not going to have another animal out there, and so the market's going to go up forever. And so, again, I mean, a lot of guys have backed off their positions. And so one of the things we push a lot is in certain situations, whether it's fat cattle basis contracting those to a packer, and trying to eliminate some of the margin risk and margin exposure you got, if guys can do it. And then also forward contracting the cattle through the video auctions and trying to get the best bid there. You touched on it a second ago about selling them at a discount out front. And I think a lot of times it's because we have a discounted futures market out front. We're starting to build a big carry in this market today. I mean, as we sit here today at the beginning of October, and then you look out front, it's one of the first times in a long time that the futures market is allowing that person that's going to buy the cattle to offset that exposure on their side. So we're starting to build a carry out there. So, man, right now probably is the best time, in my opinion, to forward contract something because the market's probably higher later than what it is today. from a fed cattle standpoint here recently, there's been a little bit of pressure because we took the cattle from July and August and overfed those things into September and October. So there's a little bit of a northern pressure, I'd say right now. And so that's reflected in the futures market, as that's the cheapest contract month we got. And then you go out there to the spring months and they're starting to get, a $10, $12 carry out there in some of those months. But I do really, really, really think that your wisdom around utilizing the video auctions out front is something that people really need to listen to. I mean, you're a guy that's been in this business for, we talked about it right before this, 3 or 4 cattle cycles.
Yeah.
Most of us have been through 1 or 2 that are 45 years old or whatever, I was going to say this, and I don't want to shock you when you say this. Your video auction was 2 months before I was born. Your first video auction. So as I was listening to you talk, and listening to your background, it really gave me chills to think about it, because I love this business. I didn't grow up in it. My dad trained racehorses, but I love the cattle business, and I've loved to mentor, be a mentee, I guess, of guys like you over that time period, and to listen to you talk about how the things that you really respected from your dad and learned from your dad, and sitting there, this is in your blood. And it's, and you've had the opportunity throughout your life to make it a livelihood, and probably a very fruitful livelihood on occasion. Depends on what day it is, I imagine.
Yeah.
To be able to circle your career back to the packing side of it. I think it's awesome. And like I said, I want people to listen to your wisdom that you had there, your background and the history that you talked about. The history in this business will tell us what the future is going to look like
Every time.
And I'm a huge believer in that. And I think a lot of times we lose sight of that. So I appreciate you. I didn't get to say this a second ago. I appreciate you coming on here and talking to us about it for sure. Mm-hmm. And then I think back to the first time I'd heard your name in my circle, 3 or 4 years ago. And then immediately you came to my office in Weatherford. You drove down, and it took you probably 3 hours to get down there. And I remember you leaving my office that day going, man, I just learned more from this guy in an hour and a half or 2 hours than I did for, probably a couple of years when I was at Cargill, But I think that, again, like I said, I think people need to really listen in on what you have to say, because, again, what you've experienced probably gives a little bit of intel on, because none of us know where this thing's going as we move forward here. And there's so much uncertainty, and there's so much excitement, and there's so much, people out there that just think this thing's going to go on forever. And it could. Well, we know that forever is forever, right? So it won't. But what we want to make sure of is people don't get stuck in the situations that kind of create, whether it's career ending scenarios, right? So I think it's something that people need to listen to for sure.
Yeah. Well, it'll always do the same thing. And black swans, unforeseen circumstances, whatever it is that causes it. And, that's the greatest gift I've gotten is longevity. So I get to choose when I don't want to anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's, wasn't always that way. There are a lot of things that can happen that I don't guess we need to go over, but you just have to watch the news and try to inflect that into what somebody else is thinking might do to your operation, which is just a calling to cover some of the risk. And if you're not always going to knock it out of the park, you're not always going to get a double or a triple. Sometimes just a base hit and getting around the bases. And, and I've heard it said, I've spent more time digging out of bad markets than I ever will trying to enjoy a good one. And it's just fundamentals ultimately kick in. And I think you have to watch that. So again, I've been blessed that I got to stay and experience things that I relish now. So glad to be here. I wish Live Ag the best. I think an interesting comment that I have is that of all the cattle that are sold in the United States every year, less than 2% of them go to a video market. And that's a big question to me. Why? And there's a lot of viability in it. and they're selling a lot of cattle. But if you add it all up, it's still, they're still going through markets, cash markets, weekly markets, uh, and you just wonder why it doesn't. And I wanted to make one more point about getting out in front on a video sale. If you've got X number of calves, you can always hold one load back to give yourself a little cushion on the weight or the head count. You know, you don't have to sell every one of them all at once.
That makes sense.
Yeah, sell 80% or
Yeah,
75%.
and that way, if it doesn't look like you're going to make the weight, you're going to make the weight on the early calvers, the ones that calve early. But you got a little cushion there, and you know, if they're coming in light, you can take a few more off and get your weight, or get closer to it. So, you know, it's pretty hard for me to come up with an excuse not to do something when the profits look like they are, especially on a cow-calf guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just phenomenal what they're bringing.
Well, it's like, I always talk about this, Richard. And I mean, you've been in this business way longer than I have, but you watch people's demeanor change and you watch their personalities change. And it's like, okay, so a year ago, feeder market's 250. I remember the futures market hitting 227. Let's just say the feeder index probably got down to 235 or 40 or something like that. So think about that, 235, 240 ish. So then, you know, we had gone up from a futures market at 280, but the market never really got there. It got to about 260. It set back, and then we come back roaring right after that. Guys that their number used to be like 275, 280, which they thought we would never be able to achieve again, sold at those levels. So then when they got the next turn of cattle, which is these right now, they're scared to sell them. They were still profitable on the set before. And then now they're sitting here with lots of profit in their hands, but then they say, I'm scared to sell. And you're like, the question I always ask them is like, why? Like, what are you scared of? Are you scared somebody else is going to get more? They're more fearful. Guys, when the market was during COVID, whenever the thing wrecked out, everybody was scared the market was going to go down. And we were selling cattle for wheat pasture cattle for $1 or $1.10 or something, right? And they were still scared the market was going to go down. And now they're scared the market's going to go up. It's the weirdest thing, right? Conversations with guys are like, the fear of the market dropping isn't there anymore for a lot of people. I mean, they just don't think about it. And I think they should more. You made a comment a minute ago, and it just really, and I can't remember exactly how you said it, but you talk about the tough times in the market. And you said there's always somebody that's like stick their hand out and help you, you know, or tough times in the business. And I'll tell you personally, this has probably been one of the tougher times that I've had because I'm a market caller. I mean, I'm a guy that kind of educates guys on the market and tries to, you know, help them to understand what their exposure is. And everybody I know in my circle is, I'm going to say, quote unquote, wrong. Right. So market got to 220 or got to $2. That was high fats. They sell it. Market gets 210. It's never going to go any higher than that. They sell it again, 220, 230, 240. And then now, even what I got to make sure of is making sure that I continue to have a very diligent plan around not getting, you know, shaky on where that's at. But I think a lot of people have got to make sure that they're not losing sight of what the dynamics and really the velocity what the market can do.
I think another way to say that, and this is what I use, and during all my time at Harris and with Mr. Wood, and is.
Are you ready to grab your own piece of Texas? Whether you're buying, selling, or scouting out your next adventure, Texas Ranch Sales is your go-to. They know land and they know how to get it in your hands. From massive cattle ranches to hunting land that stretches for miles, they've got what you're looking for. Their expertise and commitment to the land are what set them apart, helping you make informed decisions every step of the way. So whether you're buying your first ranch or expanding your legacy, Texas Ranch Sales has got your back. Visit TexasRanchSales.com today to get started on your ranching journey. Then head over to TexasRanchJournal.com to sign up for the exclusive quarterly magazine. Texas Ranch Sales. Land is more than property. It's your future.
One of the things that when you're buying cattle that you need to establish is what's your profit objective. That brings a point of clarity that all of the subjective what ifs and, you know, no, you don't want to be wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong. But what is your profit objective? And if you're buying cattle that make X, and they get to X,
sell
and you'll be there for the last of the market. You're gonna, and it's just that simple. It's the profit objective, you know. And I think if I'm a stocker operator and I have this profit objective, the thing that I can do is buy cattle that outperform my expectation, which goes right back to the videos. You can buy, and I watch auctions on, and they've got it all. They've had it all. You know, one of the markets that's kind of leading the front is at least 70% of the calves have had one round of shots. Really? That run, Richard, I ain't going there. I don't want no part of that. In October, you know, they're advertising 4,500 calves, and 2,800 of them have had a shot, and the rest of them, you're on your own. That's what I want to optimize and not be wrong on. And the best place to have that happen as a stocker operator is buy them off of a video, direct off a ranch where you got some control over the shipping conditions, okay? And you have an expectation. And we always talk about the premiums, and you know, these are reputation cattle. Well, if I buy Ty's cattle and they perform up to my expectation, I'm going to bid on them again. If they exceed my expectation, I'm going to try my hardest to buy them. And that's part of the success of the videos. You're buying a known commodity with expectations being met. So if you can exceed those expectations, and you have a goal, and your profit objective is met. So if I do a good job of buying them, I'm going to increase that automatically. So that's the way I would like to think about it. And you know, I've bought and fed a lot of these F1 crosses, and they just exceed every expectation from front to back. You know, lock a pin down for 300 plus days at whatever you charge yourself, or somebody else charges you. 300 and some days. You know, less than 2% death loss, including suicides. You know, send them
there's
to
a
plant.
lot. There's a lot of predictability in there.
Yeah, it's there, and from a labor standpoint in the yard, from the expectation at the bunk to the grade. You know, we killed a small pen of heifers last week, 93 head. I get 27% prime.
Well, have I got a deal for you? Just happen to have an auction.
I need finance.
Hold on, time out.
Just kidding.
I got another deal.
No. I'm just
happen to know a guy.
You can build a case for a profit objective that is offsetting to something about being wrong. And if that doesn't get you, well, then concentrate on what it is you're buying, and help yourself.
I bet if we look back and see all the wrecks that have happened, and I want to say 80% of them are due to greed.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Because
human nature.
They ran past that profit objective. They wanted that home run, not that base hit.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty of it. All of us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know I am anyways. And so if you can just tell yourself base hit at a time and do a base hit every day, when the year's over with, you're doing pretty good.
Or years.
Or years, yeah.
Years.
So
yeah, I think that's good thinking. And the whole thing about it is you just have to be consistent and try to improve the buy side and establish what it is you're willing to take or make. And when it gets to that, sell it. And a lot of my friends out west sold 900-pound steers at $260 this last spring delivery, and then I had one friend that got $265 at 9 1/4, and oh my gosh,
It's crazy.
How could you not? You know, well, they exceeded their profit expectation, but then they go on and bring $3 or,
Or 360. Yeah, 360.
What is the difference though?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
you're still in business, and anyway.
I
Well,
think
no,
I'm going to circle back around and talk to a partner of mine and tell him we're going to implement this deal.
Well,
I mean, really, I've never looked at it that way of the profit objective and for what we're wanting to do now, and that's sound planning. That's a sound structure.
it's just a simplified truth is what it is. And, like in Casey's, he's got people of all sizes. There's probably a certain amount of risk that they can stand, and then there's a certain amount they don't want to stand. And, it's kind of gotten to the point now where, you buy them and you don't want to stand it, and then that's another set of considerations. But
Thinking about buying cattle or expanding your herd? You need a financial partner who understands the cattle business. Ag Texas Farm Credit offers flexible loans for pasture, rangeland, and operating expenses. Their local lenders understand agriculture because they live it too. As a cooperative, their borrowers share in the success through patronage dividends. Whether you're buying your first set of cattle or growing a legacy operation, Ag Texas is your partner every step of the way. Visit agtexas.com to learn more and get started today.
and if you're going to do that sort of thinking, well, then you need to have somebody like Casey that's pretty up on it.
I wouldn't want Casey's job right now.
No.
We're doing good. We got it easy, and I look over across the street and talk to Casey some days. I'm like, okay, Casey, come off the ledge. Let's go. Let's talk for a little while.
No, it's
breathe.
It's a weird situation in the market because I've always been a guy I wanted the market to go up. Even when I was at Cargill, I like being bullish and being excited, and the market going higher it's more fun, right?
Yeah.
And I saw somebody write something down that this is the most hated cattle market rally in history. It's because everybody's already sold, and if you sold already, I mean, feeder cattle are in all-time new highs right now.
Yeah.
So anybody that sold it before today is wrong, right? If you want to say that the question or the statement's wrong, but they're still right for implementing their plan. And that's the one thing we push a whole lot. But the thing that I'm telling you, I say this every day to all of my clients every day is we want to be more covered on the way down than we were on the way up. And my fear is that nothing today tells me that this thing's going lower. No analyst out there is willing to step up on the stage and say, you know what, we're going to overexpand this herd. There's lots of unknowns and uncertainties. You talked about buying cattle on the border. Today, you wouldn't be able to buy those cattle on the border. They're not coming across. That's probably been the biggest lift to this market, not having those million head come across the border. We're one policy change away from that changing.
Exactly.
And so I don't know if they're going to open that thing up. It doesn't look like it, but who knows? It's a big guess. And there's lots of unknowns, but now we're gambling, right? We're spending a lot of money on these cattle. And we're in this like weird predicament of we got to have the cattle to continue to run our operations. The reason why it's hated, the only guy that really likes the market where it's at is the one selling, right, that day. And then he's mad the next day because it went higher and his neighbor got more.
I shipped some cattle last week, and I've shipped quite a few cattle up there with this gentleman. And every time we've sold one, we were excited until the next day.
Yeah, high fiving.
And he's calling me like, "What did we do?" I'm like, "Hey, no." And then we go the next set we sell higher, and we're like, "Man, that's awesome." There's only been one time for 3 days that we were happy. I mean, we were happy for all of them. Don't get me wrong, but 3 days we thought, boy, we did the right thing. Then that fourth day, and there it went again. You're like,
well,
whatever. But they made money all the way up. So it's
that's the point. That's the whole point. Is that if you have a profit objective, it simplifies everything about selling,
It's kind of like the story we were all taught as a little kid when we were growing up, the tortoise and the hare, And so if you want to be the guy that withstands this and you're around for a long time, your approach has been like more diligent and more planning, and even your demeanor. Like I'm way more high strung than you are, and so is Ty. Your demeanor eludes that
well,
plan.
Let's hold up now. Let's talk through this a little bit. I've known him a while.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying he can get ramped up? Yeah. Well, that's somebody. That's whenever his plan's going awry, right?
When I don't get my objective.
When that profit objective in there, that's when he kind of gets fired up. Well, guys, man, Richard, I can't thank you enough for for coming down and agreeing to sit down and visit. I mean, your story, we could sit here and talk for hours on things that you've done. And I would love to sit here and talk for hours and learn more about it and pick your brain and get educated, because that's pretty much what me and Casey are doing here is learning. And the best way to do that is to be quiet and let people like yourself talk, and we soak it in. Like you said with your dad, by osmosis. I mean, you just go around with them and you just stay in the background and learn. And that's what I've loved to do from you guys. And I can't thank you enough again for letting us do that. And just appreciate you coming down. And is there anything else you want to kind of cover before we wrap up here?
I just like to thank you for the opportunity, and thank Casey for being here. I always enjoy his comments.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watch a Live Ag Live It, I always get to listen to his. And his old boss used to call me on Sundays, and I've told that story, I think, to you. So anyway, I had some cattle on feed at shifts, and I thought, well, I'll just call my pal Steve. And huh? You're breaking up. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the guy. I'd be driving my feed wagon on Sunday, and he'd call. And primarily at that point he was asking me about these Angus cross calves.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to see a lot more of them.
Yeah.
And anyway, all that. But
It's amazing, and not to like make this a whole lot longer, but to your point a minute ago, when the cattle were 27% prime, the cattle had been the same.
Yeah,
they've improved to some small degree. But Richard, you remember like 3 or 4 years ago, we couldn't even sell these things.
Well, that
was
was my reason for calling Steve.
It was a struggle. Yeah,
because I was
and he was in bad area.
Yeah, I was getting hit over the head. And,
yeah, they were treating them like a Holstein steer.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and there's still some of that up in the northern auctions. They'll sell an Angus dairy cross, and hell, he's $7 back, and he's $15 ahead of him in the cooler.
Oh,
And
it's unreal.
it's not honest. It's just not honest.
Well, it's all perception of value, and like we let human interaction involve too much bias into that.
Well, those cattle are the most uniform, packer accepted, and I've said this enough. They're the white hog. They're the leghorn chicken. They're the ideal packer animal, because when they get them in the cooler, they're easy to sell, piece at a time. That's what they want. I had I want to say 47% CAB.
It's
upper third of choice grade, and it's that way consistently.
Yeah.
And we were talking about some of these calf raisers that are using specific genetics, and they're beating that all to heck, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
They're beating those numbers all to heck, and they're just a phenomenal animal.
Well, I've seen the results of what we call the cuts. I mean, what we call the cut, we sort them off. They're non-loadable.
Yeah.
And they feed them.
It's amazing.
It's no difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you look at them, you're like, well, this is going to hurt. No, you get the sheep back and they're like,
yeah,
it's wild.
The craziest thing is we determine value based off of a person's visual appraisal of the animals, and then bias in history, right?
I got to tell you about one.
Yeah.
We're standing in front of a set of cattle, and it was a Cargill buyer. And
Hopefully,
we're
was it me?
standing there.
Okay,
No, it
good,
wasn't you.
Good.
We're standing there by this pen of cattle, and he comes driving up, gets out. And I said, what do you think of our F1s? They're fat. They're standing there. Just beautiful. And he starts looking around all over, and there's a pen of smaller ones down there. And he says, well, I guess they'll be all right. He had no idea what he was looking at.
Yeah.
And, the uniformity, the age they're young cattle. They got a greater propensity to be tender. Just a lot of things. And I know in Dave Wood's model, we were 50, 60,000 ahead on purchases of those things. They just performed up and passed every expectation.
Yeah.
And the one place they do fall down is on carcass yield. I mean, live yield. So, and so what they've done now is they've set the bar higher where they got to yield 63.5, which they'll never do. And they've moved that grade requirement up to 65%, and they've moved the prime price, down $3 or $4 a hundred, just because they can.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, anyway, all that.
Well.
Just glad to be here. Glad to
We
be
can
in
get a
here.
lot deeper right here.
Yeah. It looked like it's fit to get deep. So
Yeah, we better quit.
We better step in here. Thank you once again. Casey, thank you. Richard, appreciate you joining us. Thanks everybody out there in social media and YouTube land. We appreciate you joining us with the We Live It podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Also, if you are interested in any advertisement or joining or being on the show, reach out to Katie at live-ag.com, or just go to the website at live-ag.com and send us a message through there. We will get back to you and reach out to you. So once again, thanks and God bless.